In 1974, a factory family could earn more dollar than the year before and still bring home less life. The grocery bill rose. The gas bill rose. The mortgage payment stayed fixed, but the cost of everything around it climbed. Their savings account showed a larger number, yet bought fewer meals. The hard question was not how to make money. It was how to keep money from quietly disappearing. The father worked full-time. The mother watched every receipt. They kept cash for safety because that was what careful families had been taught to do. But inflation changed the meaning of safety. Cash did not vanish from the bank. Its purchasing power did. Purchasing power means what your money can actually buy. And during the 1970s, that buying power weakened year after year. The family faced a cruel choice: spend today before prices rose again, or save for a future that kept moving farther away. A savings account offered a clear balance and easy access. Yet its interest could lag behind inflation, especially after taxes. A family could feel wise for saving and still lose ground. The mistake was not saving. The mistake was believing that every dollar saved held the same strength. The wider economy made the choice harder. The 1970s brought stagflation, a painful mix of rising prices, weak growth, and job stress. Usually people expect a slow economy to cool prices. This time that comfort failed. Families could not rely on one simple answer. Cutting spending helped. Asking for higher pay helped when possible. But the household also needed assets that had a chance to keep pace. An asset is something that may hold value or produce income, such as a home, a bond, or a share of a company. Families began to think in layers. Cash covered near needs. A home offered shelter. Work supplied income. Savings protected against surprise. Other assets might protect the future. This was asset allocation, the plain task of deciding where money should live and what job each part should perform. That decision had a price. A family that held only cash had little risk from a falling stock market, but high risk from rising prices. A family that bought property took on debt, repairs, taxes, and the danger that a local market could weaken. A family that bought gold faced no rent or dividend, but gold produced no regular income. Every defense against inflation carried its own form of risk. Real estate drew attention because rents and home prices often moved upward during inflation, though not in every place or every year. A house gave a family a roof, which mattered more than a chart. If the mortgage rate was fixed, the payment could become easier to carry as wages and prices rose. But new buyers faced higher rates, costly repairs, and large down payments. A home was protection, not a promise. For families who already owned property, inflation could shrink the real burden of fixed debt. The debt amount stayed the same, while each dollar became less valuable. That sounds like a clever trick, but it was not free. Income had to keep coming. A lost job could turn a useful loan into a crisis. Real estate also lacked quick access to cash, making it hard to use during an emergency. The family's children felt the change in small ways. School shoes lasted longer. Meat appeared less often. A planned vacation became a visit to relatives. These were not entries in an investment report, but they were real withdrawals from household comfort. When parents cut spending to protect a future account, children learned both discipline and fear. Money shaped the family story long before any inheritance existed. Some workers gained a shield through wages that rose with prices. Others did not. Union contracts, job type, location, and employer strength mattered. A raise could protect a family for a time, but a raise also pushed some households into higher tax bills, without restoring all lost buying power. Inflation made the paycheck feel busy, while the home budget grew tight. Investing brought a different problem. A stock could rise in dollars and still fail to beat inflation after taxes and fees. A bond paid interest, but a long fixed payment could lose real value when new rates climbed. This is why a return must be judged in real terms. The real result is what remains after inflation, taxes, costs, and the passage of time. Gold became a famous inflation hedge. A hedge is an asset or action meant to reduce the harm from a specific risk. Gold had a long human history as a store of value, and after U.S. rules changed in 1974, American households could again own gold bullion more freely. Yet gold paid no interest or dividend. Its price could move sharply, and buying, storing, and selling it brought costs. That detail matters because memory often cleans up hard years. People remember the asset that rose and forget the years it did not. A family that bought gold at one moment might have felt protected. Another family might have needed income and found no monthly payment in a gold coin. Historical winners are easy to admire after the fact. Survivorship bias hides the choices that failed or were never recorded. Series 1. Bonds cannot be placed inside the 1970s story as if families bought them then. The U.S. Treasury introduced Series 1 savings bonds in 1998. Their design links interest to inflation, which can help protect purchasing power over time, but they were not available during that earlier crisis. That correction is important. Good history does not force a modern tool into an old household. The true lesson from Series 1 bonds is about matching an asset to a job. A bond tied partly to inflation may serve a different purpose from a stock fund, a home, or cash. Its rules, limits, tax treatment, and holding period still matter. An inflation-linked tool can reduce one risk without removing every risk. Protection works best when the family understands what the tool can and cannot do. The old household budget was also a risk map. Food and fuel were immediate. A roof and medicine were essential. College and retirement were far away. The same dollar could not solve all three problems. Families that kept every goal in one account made one pool carry too many jobs. Families that separated short-term cash from long-term assets could make calmer choices when prices or markets moved. Compound growth means that earnings can create more earnings over time. Inflation attacks that process by reducing the value of each future dollar. If a family stopped saving completely, it avoided market losses but also lost years of growth. If it invested without emergency cash, a sudden bill could force a sale at a bad time. The balance was not dramatic. It was a repeated choice between flexibility now and growth later. Taxes added another quiet leak. Interest, rent, and gains may be taxed in different ways depending on the account and the law. A tax-advantaged account is an account with rules that may delay or reduce taxes, though each type has limits and conditions. In the 1970s, families had fewer tools than many households have today. Their first defense was often simple: spend carefully and avoid fragile debt. The mortgage became part of the family's inflation story. A fixed-rate loan gave payment certainty, but a variable-rate loan could rise as interest rates climbed. Refinancing was not always easy or cheap. Some families moved to smaller homes, others took in relatives or rented part of the house. The home served as shelter, possible wealth, and sometimes a source of income, but never without duties. Businesses faced the same pressure. A small shop paid more for supplies, power, transport, and wages. Raising prices risked losing customers. Holding prices risked losing the business. Families tied to that shop carried two risks at once: the risk inside the company and the risk inside the household budget. Diversifying income could help, but building a second income stream required time that working parents did not have. The deepest divide was not between brave investors and fearful savers. It was between families with room to wait and families forced to act today. A well-paid household might buy property or keep investing through a hard market. A low-income household might spend every dollar on food and heat. Advice that ignores this difference turns history into blame. Survival often began with enough income to reach the next month. By the end of the decade, many families had changed their habits. They watched interest rates. They questioned fixed returns. They learned that a bank balance could rise while real wealth fell. Some moved money into homes, businesses, shares, or precious metals. Others simply paid down debt and built a larger cash cushion. There was no single-family strategy because there was no single-family balance sheet. The period also changed the meaning of inheritance. Parents did not pass down only property or accounts. They passed down lessons about debt, work, spending, and fear. A child who saw a home saved through a hard decade might value steady ownership. A child who saw a parent lose everything might avoid risk for life. Both lessons could protect a family in one setting and limit it in another. A durable plan must therefore survive more than one kind of storm. Inflation can punish cash. A recession can punish risky investments. A job loss can punish a stretched mortgage. Taxes can reduce an apparent gain. Fees can quietly eat a small account. The goal is not to find one perfect hedge. It is to build enough strength that one bad force does not control the whole household. History also warns against copying one decade without asking what changed. The 1970s had its own laws, wages, energy shocks, interest rates, and family structures. Modern households face different rules and products. Series 1 bonds exist now, but their terms can change. Real estate still varies by place. Stocks still fall. Gold still pays no income. A historical example can teach a principle without becoming a personal blueprint. That principle begins with purpose. Keep money needed soon in places where access and stability matter. Give long-term money time to grow through a mix of assets suited to the family's risk and horizon. Review debt, taxes, fees, and insurance. Do not confuse a rising number with rising wealth. And do not let fear push every dollar into one shelter, because even a shelter can become dangerous when it is the only one. The family that survived inflation did not always win a contest. Often it simply kept making room for tomorrow. It protected food money, held useful assets, avoided debts it could not carry, and adjusted when old rules stopped working. Some choices worked well, some did not. The honest record is mixed because real families are mixed. Their balance sheets contain courage, luck, limits, and mistakes. The 1970s left a lasting message. Wealth is not the number printed on a statement. It is the food that number can buy, the bills it can cover, the choices it can preserve, and the help it can give the next generation. Every dollar has a job. Every job carries a risk. Families endure when they understand both and protect purchasing power without sacrificing the present that makes the future worth having.